What's going on, pre-Chiro students? It's Dr. Ben again with another interesting conversation to just shine a light on the path that other chiropractors have taken. And today we have Dr. Brianna Salvia out in New York. Can you just introduce yourself, Dr. Breezy, and let us know what's going on with you before you went and became a chiropractor, before chiropractic school? Maybe a little bit about your upbringing and what your education was like and your life experience.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Dr. Ben Glass. Yep, Dr. Brianna here. I am in Patchogue, Long Island. I feel like this could go in so many directions, but my background, I would say, I went to undergrad in New Jersey. I got a degree in health studies, so I knew from I don't know, you go to college at 18, right? I knew that I was super into health and wellness.
Uh-huh.
I had no idea what I was going to do with it. I actually thought for a while I'd be a nutritionist. I thought I might be a physical therapist. I started shadowing. I did an internship with a physical therapist. I did an internship with an occupational therapist. Both of which, when I was sitting there, it just was not my thing. I kept finding myself feeling bored, wondering when the day was over, counting down my internship days. So
Mm,
I knew that wasn't going to be my path, but
mm,
I always knew that I was into health and that I just loved helping people.
mhm,
So I graduated. I actually went on to get a master's in education
mm,
and I taught middle school science for 2 years
mm,
in the Bronx. So that was a good experience. um, and I was doing a 2 year program. I knew after the first year that I was not going to continue being a teacher, but I wanted to finish the master's program, so I did. And then after that, actually in my undergrad, I played soccer. I
mhm,
had some back pain one day. They sent me to the chiropractor that was on staff at my college, which was awesome.
mhm,
He would come Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 a.m. So I was popping in there at 6 a.m. to get adjusted before practice so that I could finish out my senior year. But he didn't really explain anything to me. I just knew I felt really good. And obviously, my pain went away and I was able to play. So I was thankful for that, but I didn't put anything else behind it. I didn't really think anything.
mhm.
So here I am living in New York City, teaching middle school science, not liking it. I remember getting my first white hairs and thinking, I'm only 23. You kids this is not, this isn't cool. But I was playing soccer again and I had some back pain. So it just happened to be around the time that I told my principal I wasn't coming back. And I end up in a chiropractor's office and I start getting adjusted. I start seeing families in there. He was taking care of pregnant women. And I just started picking his brain a little bit. I mean, he took the time to explain chiropractic, the nervous system, and something clicked that first day. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. But so yeah, I just kind of kept picking his brain. And then by like the second week, I asked him, I'm like, can I be a chiropractor? I just thought it was all men. That's all, the only two chiropractors I knew
Mhm.
um, were these big men. And I'm like, can I do this? Like, what would that look like? And he was like, absolutely. And so that kind of just started my path into thinking, okay, maybe I'll be a chiropractor. Like I said, I was just so drawn to helping people in health. I was actually looking into like social work and public health and thought maybe I was going to go to Africa and like save all the kids. I don't know.
Mhm.
But I kept searching. And then chiropractic kind of fell into my lap. And I just thought it was really awesome, the message that I got. And I just continued with it. I felt really good in my body. I
Mhm.
noticed just a change in my immune system, like my digestion. I feel like just kind of I took a lot of antibiotics as a kid.
Mhm.
So I felt like, you know, unbeknownst to me throughout college and all that, I kind of had like a weak stomach for a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just didn't know where that was coming from. But as I would, start to get deeper into, oh, yeah, like those 25 rounds of antibiotics probably did not do my digestive system
Mm-hmm.
good. So I kind of started to realize like, oh, all this stuff has an impact. And I think I just, kind of got back to the basics when it came to chiropractic and realizing like, okay, my body's awesome. It knows how to heal, getting adjusted, and then just supporting the rest of my body, and I'll thrive. And I just love how cool would this be to share this with other people.
No doubt.
Um,
Yeah, no, you touch on a number of different things. The fact that you had like this humanitarian spirit, you were thinking of maybe going to Africa, that you were a science teacher, that you valued like the next generation and wanting to really communicate in a way that you were able to reach people, like younger kids are still people, right? And then you also touch on how you saw chiropractors as a college athlete and they didn't really explain things or take the time to explain things because it was kind of mission trip style. They're on the sidelines just adjusting athletes, and they had things to do. So it's really interesting that you touch on a number of sort of like common threads that we're seeing in these interviews with chiropractors where they reflect back on their path, and you really do have to keep searching and keep asking questions till you eventually reach the right chiropractor at the right time. And it seems almost like it's meant to be, but at the same time, if you didn't have that drive, if you didn't have that like consistent curious, like what am I here to do, what is my path, like it might not have never happened, might not ever happen for you. So I just want
mhm.
to acknowledge that. It's really interesting to hear your story. Can you talk about being a college athlete and transition into chiropractic school, or being a science teacher, transition into chiropractic school? We're going to definitely get into some details in this answer also on like what your experience of chiropractic school was, because you had already done a master's degree, you'd already been in college, you were fresh like in the school systems as a teacher. Can you just kind of talk about what the chiropractic student experience was like for you, and also how your previous background helped you with that?
Yeah, good question. Um, so I guess if you do the math, I pretty much did about 10 years of college, more or less straight through without, really a break, so to say. I mean, bits and pieces here, but I was always kind of in a class, whether I was just taking chemistry to like, I actually thought I was going to be a PA. So I was taking chemistry, I was taking my biochem, I was kind of fulfilling those like prior to teaching, a little bit after, like still trying to figure out my path. So a good 10 years in college. So for me, still being in that, I guess, served me in ways, but also there were times where I was just like, I'm very, very done with sitting in class. And I also, I started to kind of view, even back then, the whole school system. I mean, kind of seeing the bigger picture of the school systems in general. So I was just kind of like, all right, all right. But I just knew, I just had to get through it. I had, at that point, I my chiropractor in New York City, he was a DE chiropractor. So I know like one of my first semesters in school, he's like, come on, come to Atlanta, come to Atlanta. Come see what this is about. Like, I think you'll love the message. So I think my second or third semester in chiropractic school, especially when I like the newness of living in California wore off, you know, and I'm like, all right, I'm only about 3 semesters in and I have a lot to go.
Mm.
So, yeah, when I was, I go there, I met a whole bunch of different chiropractors and a lot of women too. That was something kind of important to me, to have mentors on both sides. So I met a bunch of like just women chiropractors there, and, some from Long Island, which I still keep in contact with today, like pretty regularly. And, it was just get through it, just get through school. You'll use maybe 95% of it you won't use, 5 to 7% will come up. in practice as a professional one day. So I'm like, all right. So I just had to push through. Going to DE, I probably went about 5 times throughout school. That was really helpful. I mean, just being surrounded by all the other students and chiropractors was super helpful because everybody was just so driven and awesome that like, the Life West bubble. I'm sure most chiropractic schools are like that, just being surrounded by that mindset that you're not really going to find that elsewhere. I haven't anyways. So, which was interesting, kind of also coming from East Coast, lived here my whole life. I was in New York City. So that was kind of a transition to Hayward, nonetheless. It was definitely a big, uproot in my life. A little scary. I didn't know anybody out in California, but I just technically my chiropractor in New York City, he gave me 3 options for schools, and he said life in Atlanta. I didn't really want to live in Georgia. He told me Sherman in Spartanburg, and I wasn't willing to move to a farm at that point, and Life West in California. So I figured I'd go to California, which is what happened. I just packed my bag. Me and my sister hopped in a car. I only had what could fit in my little Elantra, and I made my way over there, and just kind of figured it out from there. I didn't know one person, and just it all kind of fell into place. And, I do remember like, where am I going to live? I remember, thinking I personally hadn't been in any like debt, so to say. So taking on a bunch of loans, I'm like, okay, all right, but I just said, all right, this is my next step. This is what I have to do. There was no, there was no other way for me. So I had to do it. And was it easy? Has been easy? No, but worth it. Yes.
I'd love for you to touch on 3 points that you just referenced in your path, which was 1, the importance of having mentors, having people that were in support of you, having people that kind of like held your hand as you walked through the program, or at least encouraged you to go in certain directions and just explore those directions. So the mentorship piece, and then the other piece is women in chiropractic and being a chiropractor who's a woman, and just really speaking to that younger sort of generation, or even just that next generation of female chiropractic students. They might even be career changers that are older than we are. And then the third piece is, those 2 are a great place to start.
Okay. Yeah. Mentors, I feel like mentors and friends in chiropractic have been what's kept me going for sure. I mean, I think for me as an athlete growing up, and we all have teachers of some sort. We grow up in school, right? And then with sports, you have coaches. So you always have somebody, teammates and what have you. So I kind of look at like my chiro tribe and my people now as like my team and my teammates. It's like if I didn't have that team in soccer, I probably, I was not going to be just running, fitness tests for fun. That's not my idea of fun. So, of course, you always have those people to push you, right? And kind of remind you like, oh, this is why you're here. So I feel like in chiropractic, it's just the same, potentially in any field, but chiropractic nonetheless. And especially I feel like what it boils down to is, and obviously you can see right now what's going on in the world, like we just have such a different mindset and perspective and view of health and maybe the world in general. So I feel as if, if you are sitting and reading the media and watching the news and, going along with the world, there's some level of like sometimes I have to sit back and question myself, like, am I crazy? Are we the crazy ones, for like thinking the way that we do, that the body is amazing, that the body's self-healing, that us personally, who are very health minded and health conscious and doing all the things,
Mhm.
that we don't have like anything to worry about, so to say, during this time.
Mhm.
But being surrounded by like-minded individuals and or people that are always looking to go to the next step, to be better, to how, for me too, it's always like, how can I show up better, how can I serve larger, for my people, right now in the office anyways, and how can I set that example, and how can I maybe give them some hope, I guess.
Mhm.
So it is, I mean, chiropractors, I'm sure you've seen it. And maybe you could even, Dr. Ben, just like speak even further on. I mean, I've only really been in practice for 2.5, 3 years. Just what people have come in with, or like their fears and their anxieties, and like the stress levels, like right now, is like through the roof from people. So, it's how can and every person's different. So it's
Mhm.
also learning to just relate to these people on different levels, meeting them where they're at,
Mhm.
and then planting seeds, I find, of, not telling them like, don't feel this way. Don't, you don't have to wear 3 masks and gloves, which some people have come in here with 2 masks on, and um, trying to like meet them where they're at, and like also provide some level of like, if you can kind of shift their paradigm a little bit, or at least get them thinking.
Mhm.
But it has been helpful just to have other people on my team. Hey, well, how are you handling this? What are you doing? What's keeping you sane, and what's keeping you going, and how,
Mhm.
whatever. And so also having those people just to like, kind of like bitch you, so to say. It's like, oh, or unload my stuff on, or just to
Mhm.
get it out and know that I'm not, alone in my I guess how I go, my paradigm, my health paradigm, so to say.
100%. Just to build some context for you. So, one of the services or one of the gifts that we're hoping to provide for prospective students or pre-Chiro students is to really identify what their interests are, identify the directions that they're interested in going, and then match them or pair them with either a current chiropractic student or a practicing chiropractor that practices in a way that is of relationship to what their interests are. So I was wondering if you could describe some of the practice sort of, yeah, just kind of describe your practice, describe some of the trainings that you took that really shaped you,
Yeah, cool.
and helped you build your skill set.
Awesome. Um, and also to touch on before, with being a woman chiropractor, which I can kind of tie that into this right now, is definitely unique. I've had people come in and just say, or, just, I want to see a woman chiropractor. In New York, it's very saturated with men, but New York's very masculine place. So that's been interesting. And I also, in school, first and foremost, I wasn't always, so sure on who I wanted to serve. I've been an athlete my whole life, but I wasn't so like, oh yeah, so super drawn to like the athletic realm. Um, I actually thought I was going to be a Nuka doc for a while in school. I was like, if you're not a Nuka and you're not, doing upper cervical, what are you doing? I was on that path for a good year. And I still have Nuka, I still have upper cervical. But I find that hasn't fit into my style of working with people, and that's okay. Because there's so many different techniques. In school, I tried to study as many of them as I can. I got under care from a Nuka doc for a while. I was under network care for a while. I did some activator care for a little bit. I was just trying them all out. I had only known traditional diversified. I thought that's all there was. So when I saw a network entrainment, adjustment, whatever you want to call it, and even an upper cervical, I was like, when do you do the adjustment? I didn't understand. I literally felt like aloof, but just realizing there were so many different techniques, and I thought Life West was awesome for that because they really offered, you know, um, you could see so many different techniques and ways and styles that people show up as a chiropractor. And I'm, obviously still learning, but I would say through school, I took some BGI classes. I took some with Eric Rubin, a little bit of Elizabeth Golov, her cervical series and stuff like that. What other? For me too, it was going to DE. I took a couple of the ICPA courses throughout school. I'm still taking them. Those are really helpful because I have found for me personally, I do love the moms and babies. As you can see the sign in the back, the babies and children side. So I'm realizing like my favorite part of practice, which I didn't always know that was going to be the case. I didn't want to just jump on that bandwagon because other people were. But I would say probably like 50%, 50 to 60% of my practice is families, babies, moms. A lot of the times the dads come in, but otherwise it's mom and the kids. And so I've had to, business, I would say. I didn't really pay attention in those classes in school. And if I did, I don't know if they would have been helpful, maybe. But again, not having a clue as to how I wanted to serve in school, it was kind of this like, how would I come up with a business model or business plan or figure any of that out, right? And it's just literally been learning on the go. But what I will say is it's just like as simple as, okay, I like serving families. How can I create a model that is sustainable for families and for myself as a chiropractor? Because I opened a practice, I have no experience in business. And I'm like, I got to be here 8 a.m. every day, like for people before they get to work. And then I got to be here like till 8 at night, that lasted 2 weeks. And I also had nobody coming in, so that wasn't realistic. But even then, I'm like, yeah, I'll be here at 8. Oh, you want to come at 7:30? I'll be here at 7:30. No, not anymore. I'm about 2 years into running my own. And it's still a work in progress. It's still changing, but I'm figuring out, no, what's my ideal time to see people? How many hours do I want to do that? And then how do I, make it sustainable, profitable for me in the life I want to live? And having time for me so that I can show up and serve them too, has been probably my biggest lesson, learning boundaries with people. Because if you don't have them, you'll be here at midnight. I live a half a mile from my office. So, I could literally be here at any point in about 5 minutes. So that's been a big lesson for me. But I always tell people in general, in chiropractic, in the office, it's like, if there's a business you want to start and you want to do it, just do it. Just figure it out. Like, you don't have to have the answers. I still don't have all the answers. And in 5 years, I probably still won't, but I made it work. So I'm making it work. So that's
and it continues to change, and it keeps life interesting, right? If you're an entrepreneur, the beauty of it is in the creativity, is in the changes that you make as life happens. Maybe the structure of your life changes. Maybe you develop your own family, or maybe you move locations, and now your office structure or design is different. So yeah, is there anything you can do to kind of give some advice to that high school or college student or career changer before chiropractic school, to prepare themselves in that world of entrepreneurship? Do you think that it's important to gain experience in a business way? And if so, and if we're just being creative, but if so, could you give any recommendations on things that people could do to start to prepare themselves for chiropractic school, whether it's entrepreneurship or studying the unique sciences that chiropractic has to offer, or maybe even some of the arts?
Yeah, good questions. First and foremost, I would say just go visit chiropractic offices. In the chiropractic realm, reach out to. I've just picked up the phone and called chiropractors, like either something they said on Facebook or something like I came across, and I'm like, cool. And then I'll search their website, kind of see how they do things too. And then yeah, I'm in like Facebook groups with them, so I just pick up the phone and I'm like, hey, I saw your office. Like that looks cool. Can we talk? And most of them, if they can't talk right then, they're gonna sit down and talk with me at some other point. So, um, you know, just feeling like just being in a space of like you don't have to know it all. Just like ask people. I got this light coming in now. Um, just ask people for help. You don't have to have any or all the answers. But I did try to see a bunch of chiropractic offices throughout school. Um, Again, I saw a ton of like NUCA offices. I was, going to California. I was going to all these places just to see different offices. Um,
Can you
I
touch on NUCA really quick, just because most people don't know what NUCA is, and I'm not sure we've had anybody actually describe how it fits into the upper cervical world, or what exactly is unique about it?
Yeah, so NUCA, it stands for National Upper Cervical Chiropractic Association. It really is dealing with the relationship of C1 and C2 as it relates to the skull, and the idea being that um, any kind of tension, torsion, twist, movement in any direction of the atlas, that first bone in your neck, um, is going to have a global effect on the entire body. Some of them also believe that, it's kind of the only bone in the spine to really, make any kind of considerable movement because it's not locked in place by any bony joints, right?
Mm.
So if that is slightly, rotated, twisted, turned, that can, and anything above can affect anything down below. So any of that going on up top, kind of like I always explain it like a little chain link, is just gonna have a trickle down effect. So if we take out, anything going on up here, it will untwist everything down below. And it is really, really powerful. They take super specific x-rays to get a specific vector or line of drive where they're going to just make a very you don't even feel much, but it's a very gentle, sustained contact on usually atlas, just to make a global effect. And they're looking at your ears, your shoulders, your like literally just your head sitting on your shoulders. What are your hips doing? And they're measuring that pre and post to see, and did the legs balance out? And that's always like the pre and post check as to, okay, did we make a change or not? Is there more work to do? Or are you good to go? See you next time, type of thing. But yeah, that's what I'll say about NUCA in general. And then,
Can you slide to your right and turn the camera to your right,
yeah,
just
I
so
was
that the
trying
light,
to figure.
or that's so much better. Thank you.
Okay, I'm all
All right.
jammed in my desk. Okay, is
All right, that's
that
better.
better?
That's better.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. And then just kind of like reflect, this might be a vulnerable moment,
NUCA.
but oh,
Yeah,
all right. It doesn't have to be a
go ahead.
vulnerable moment, but maybe really
Okay.
just speak to some of the challenges of chiropractic school for you personally. Like, there was maybe a moment of burnout, and it happens to all of us. So I'm just curious kind of what yours was about, specifically, and like what made you stick it out, or what kept you there, and are you really happy in practice right now, because we are kind of getting towards the end of the interview.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean, school for me, I'm a huge family person, so I was very far from my whole family for the first time in my life. That was definitely hard. Um, I, but definitely was homesick for the first, probably like, first quarter or two. That was probably the hardest part for me. After that, I feel as if I'm pretty good at kind of adapting to my surroundings, making friends, kind of forming my tribe, my community. So then I feel like I had support after that. Once I, like found my people. But yes, I mean, school, I just, you're up early, you're in class most of the day. I don't love like sitting at a desk, period. A lot of classes, there were teachers that I love. Not all, but again, that's anything. And to be honest, it was a lot of like time in a desk that was hard for me. I'll be honest, I was one of those students a lot of the time that like I knew what I had to do just to pass all my classes. I don't mean to brag, but I did not take board reviews and I passed on the first time. So I did something right, but most of the time I was not sitting in class the way that I was supposed to be. I knew which teachers I could sign in. I knew how many classes I could miss to not get dropped from the class, to be fully honest. I'm very much in the realm of, the body heals itself, and you're going to sit through a lot of classes and learn a lot of stuff that's not necessarily geared towards that. I knew it was for boards mostly, and all knowledge is good, but I, at the time, was not super interested in sitting there and learning about the intricacies of the gastrointestinal system and the, EENT. I remember putting my finger in someone's mouth and I was like, ooh. Like I didn't, that was just not my cup of tea, to learn all of that stuff. But I'm not saying it's bad to learn or it's good knowledge, but I just, it was boring for me, most of it. And then, getting into adjusting, there's can I do this? I remember getting to adjusting someone's neck. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do this. Like, I can't be a chiropractor. This is crazy. I can't twist someone's neck and make a cracking noise. But now it's actually probably my favorite part, to be honest.
Can you talk about that skill set of like the refinement and the adjustment, and really just reflect on kind of the subtleties and articulate what it's like to be a chiropractor adjusting people all day? And
yeah, so first of all, also in school, I was coming to Sundays in Oakland to learn from you and Dr. Irina. So thank you guys for always doing that. Having chiropractors like you throughout school was super helpful. Yeah, what I'll say for me, I am a smaller person. I weigh maybe 120 pounds. A lot of the people that come in here are bigger than me. So learning to adjust and work with all different body types, I still have a lot to learn. And to be honest, my practice is always changing and always shifting. At first I was like side posture, never actually, I started doing network first, like solely network. And I've just evolved into some like BGI, which is breath and connecting the body in a way, that when you put an adjustment in or a force, it's going to have a global effect. So I like that stuff. And I do find it's more my adjustments that are more powerful, but I also, I'm working with a ton of kids and babies, and they're running around. My office can be like chaotic. I was literally adjusting a baby while she was breastfeeding last week. So, because that's just what we had to do to get her adjusted. So my office can be a little bit chaotic, a little bit hectic, but I find I just like work with that energy. I used to think it was going to be like calm and peaceful. It's not most of the time. Sometimes it is with some people, families. No, the kids it's kind of craziness. But what I'll say is that there's so many different techniques, and there's weeks where I maybe do like one side posture. I don't know, 2, 3. Some people really like it. Some ask me for it, but otherwise, I do a ton of like activator on the hips and the pelvis, and I don't know. It's just what has worked for me, because I know I want to practice for a while. I see a lot of people. Well, for me, I think I see a lot. I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but it doesn't matter how many you see. It's how many you want to see, and what you want to charge, for sure. But so yeah, just there's all different techniques, and that was part of my, asking that chiropractor in New York City, oh, can I do this? And he's like, of course, but I had it in my mind, like, this is a man thing, and it's manly, and these men are like these big, like, you know, all these, I still find myself like, I feel like I should be doing that sometimes, but I don't, and I'm not. And again, it's like, I see these kids, I see the babies, I see the pregnant moms, and I'm not gonna, you adjust them all differently.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, recently I had a friend ask me, she's the same, she's been out the same amount of time as me, in practice. And so she sees my posts with the babies and stuff like that. I think if I could have a practice just of babies and kids, like that would be it. They're the best. But she just asked, how do you feel confident with the babies, and like, how are you feeling stuff? And I remember being in school in clinic, and I had a baby. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing in clinic. I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. But you get the babies, you get the kids, and you just start, all right. And now it's like, you do it enough times, you do anything enough times, and it becomes second nature. I don't even think about, I don't have that thought, like, I don't know what to do anymore. I mean, sometimes for sure, but not like I used to. And then, you just start feeling, I remember being in chiropractic school too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't feel anything. Like, I don't know if this is my field. And then one of my friends, she was a few quarters ahead of me. She just said, you're going to get to a point where then you just, all of a sudden you start feeling like you'll feel things. And I'm like, all right, maybe. And I think maybe I'm just getting to that point now. I don't know. But I do remember in school it got a little bit easier. And that, I never thought I could adjust someone's neck. It probably took me, I don't know, 30 tries before, like, I was like, oh yeah, I made an adjustment. And then, I mean, now it's just like second nature, really. But it's any skill that you do. And it's definitely interesting. I feel like as kids learn so much, I feel like we should learn to adjust as kids, because it would come so much easier. Whereas adults, you're not always, most adults, or the adults that I was raised around, so to say, I kind of had this idea they weren't necessarily adding all these new skill sets, into their body, their brain, and creating all new neurological connections. But I mean, that's really all it is. It's just creating the connections, and then it just comes. I'm actually, well, somebody who started coming to my office. He's out at Life West now, so it's been fun. He sends me texts like, he's sitting through some of these technique courses. He's like, I can't feel anything. I'm like, oh yeah, I know about that. I go, yeah, I've been there. Just keep going. That's it. Just keep going, and just keep going with anything, and you'll just figure it out. If there's something you want to do, something you feel drawn to, anyways, just do it.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you so much for helping just really lift up somebody who's struggling right now, because I know that message is really important to hear at the right time. And it's what gets you to where you're at in practice, happy, living your best life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
I am definitely happy in practice. Is it easy? Am I like jazzed up 100% of the time? No, but when I'm in here, when I'm adjusting people, I'm working with my people. That's it. I love it. So
mm-hmm.
yeah.
All right, cool. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for sharing on the Pre-Chiro podcast, and be in touch. All right.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.